Warning, the following podcast contains strong language, which may be unsuitable for children, unusual humour, which may be unsuitable for adults, and the ramblings of two uninformed idiots who don't really have a clue what they are doing.
Elton, it has come time where we must do a podcast. But alas, there's a problem.
Okay. What is this problem?
There wasn't a race.
Everyone turned up though, didn't they?
They did turn up. We were definitely there. We were in Spa.
Yep.
And we turned up and we were all very excited. We were all met in our little Discord. We were all, ooh, yay, it's wet. I think maybe we did too good of a rain dance, but there was... Despite what they might have us believe, despite what it might say in the history books, there was no race. How can we do a podcast about a Formula One race that wasn't there? Oh, wait. We made a career of this last year doing podcasts about races that didn't happen.
We did, yes. Yes, this is not...
Is this a not the?
This is not the... Or the album art has already been done with not the, so don't worry.
Excellent.
It is not the.
Well, you see, that, Elton, is what we call an intro, and we're into the podcast now. We've started, we're rolling, you see.
Oh, thank goodness.
It was seamless.
Thank goodness. I'm glad someone's made an effort today, because someone over in Belgium didn't. And man alive, if this was recorded about 3 hours ago, I would have been ripping Michael Massey to pieces, because, for all the people that don't like us ripping people to pieces or moaning about stuff, I don't care. Our little sandbox. So that being said, let's move on. Welcome to the Belgium Grand Prix 2021. So what are we going to be doing? Initial impressions on not the race.
There wasn't a race. I can't give you impressions of a thing that didn't happen.
But there were people there and a grid and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a farce, wasn't it?
I think we're going to have to take a leaf out of Michael Massey's book and that of the Belgian Grand Prix. We're just going to have to throw away the format. We're just going to have to wing it for a couple of hours and see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get on format towards the end.
Okay.
But I think we're just going to have to fill for a bit and just see. Maybe we can start Mexican Wave going. I'll start.
Okay. Tell me when.
Doing it too?
Tell me when.
I'm doing it. Aren't you doing it? Oh, wait, you can't see me because it's an audio format. I hope the listeners are doing it as well, though.
That'd be amazing. People just driving down the M1 going, way!
Allegedly, we didn't tell them to do that, officers, honestly.
Of course
I don't know what they were listening to. It's madness.
No, as their car is upside down and the wheel is slowly turning to a stop.
And then there's Spinny the Hubcap going...
There are people that don't know who Spinny the Hubcap is.
Well, that sounds like their problem to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wing it. There are many things to talk about. This is going to be a very different format to what you're normally used to. So there are many different things to talk about, i.e. Rouge/Radion. Is it Radion or Leon? There's L's there, but it's Radion, isn't it?
It's all in foreign, isn't it?
It is very in forum. Yeah, there's lots to talk about, mostly about the wet weather. We've been doing rain dances for so long, and all of a sudden they all came along at once, didn't they? So,
well, we made a big point last year because there was the suggestion, the rumor that there might be a wet race last year, and we were very annoyed because not only was there not a wet race, there was a very dull dry race, and we had to put up with Crofty every 5 minutes saying, "I'm looking to the sky, seeing if we can see rain," and the rain never arrived. So. This is definitely a case of be careful what you wish for, boys and girls, because you might get it.
Yeah, I'm really struggling already. This is a difficult one to talk about a non-race. I sat there throughout the whole presentation of this, looking forward to the build-up. I didn't see the Porsche Super Cup, but I saw that they raced. But there were incidents and accidents throughout the whole weekend, weren't there?
The entire weekend, and I think we've got to go back a bit further, but look, Spa is, in my mind, one of the greatest Grand Prix circuits in the world. And it absolutely deserves to be on the grid. Here, Silverstone, Monza, they're iconic circuits that have been there since the beginning, effectively. And unlike other circuits which may proclaim to be the heart and soul of Formula One, these circuits still afford good racing. Yeah. And so, it's absolutely right and proper that we come to Spa. But that being said, something that's been apparent now for a few years, and certainly this weekend, is there have to be some changes made to Spa, especially en Rouge and into Raidillon, because that corner is not fit for purpose for modern Formula One. To be more correct, it's not the corner itself, it's the runoff area and the barrier position. That is something that needs to be addressed going forward. And from what I gather, it will be addressed. It's something that they are looking to fix. But we had an absolutely horrific crash in Formula W on the Saturday.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
That was the single worst single-seater F1 crash I have seen outside of IndyCar.
Mm-hmm.
But single-seater, Formula car crash.
Yeah.
I've seen worse in IndyCar, and tragically, when I've seen them in IndyCar, it's usually resulted in fatalities. But in European and in Asian racing, I've not seen a crash that horrific. And it's the sound more than anything that was really jarring. It was that the sound of carbon on concrete, on asphalt, on everything. It was a horribly mundane sound. You know what I mean?
It's like listening to someone break their leg at football in a football stadium. And I've heard that. And the stadium goes quiet and the guy squealed like a pig. So yes, it is very much like that. You know what that sound means. You hear the crack, you're like, I know what that means. We all know what that means, don't we? And there's a guy with a broken leg, so that's not good. But yeah, that crack of like the carbon fibre and the slamming going on, and then it doesn't stop. It didn't stop, did it? It was such a bizarre event. But are we going to be talking about what we're going to do with Eau Rouge? Raidillon?
May as well, because there's nothing to talk about the sodding race, is there?
No, that's true, yeah.
There's been a lot of people speculating, are we even going to bother doing a podcast for tonight?
We're going to try to.
You fools.
We're contractually obliged to.
We did a whole run of podcasts last year when there was no races whatsoever.
Yep. And we still rocked up for this one, and there still wasn't a race. It all started in Australia 2020.
Yeah, that was what was that? Screech, record scratch. Yeah. I expect you're wondering how we came to be here.
Okay, so where do you want to start for this weekend then? Obviously, there was a horrific crash in the Formula W, wasn't there?
Yeah, look, we're going off a reservation here today, folks. We're not going to do our usual format of the news, the qualifying, and everything like that, because I don't think there's much point in doing it. If you want to see what the news was, go to Autosport. Here's a spoiler. It's where I get the news from. I just go and get it from there.
Yeah.
But we've been so long, over the summer break, and nothing truly groundbreaking has been announced. Although I do have a little bet with our good friend Dan over at the Formula Nerds as to whether or not a certain driver's been retained or not.
Really? Okay. Oh yeah, I saw the to and fro of this. Yes.
Yeah. I might have said that if Bottas stays, he can come on here and laugh at me. And equally, that if Russell is signed, we can go on their podcast and laugh at them. So
okay, looking forward to going on there then.
I was going to say, I see this as a net win.
We'll just go on there. That's fine.
Yeah. But look, let's have a little chat, I suppose. So let's talk about Spa first of all.
Okay.
We both love this circuit, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely adore it.
Yeah. And we want to continue racing here, but something has got to be done about those corners. And the thing is, it really should have been done in 2019 after Anton Hubert's crash.
Right.
I know he crashed a bit further along, but it's because of the nature of where these barriers are. They throw the cars back into the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're coming up that hill, at full chat. you don't have sight on what's happening there. It's. I have to wonder. 1994, Tamburello was an iconic corner. It still is to an extent, but it was one of the iconic power corners in motorsport. If anyone other than Ayrton Senna had been killed there, would they have changed it? I don't know. I don't know that they would have done.
Possibly not.
And I don't want us to be at the point where the only way they're going to actually do these changes that have to be done in Spa is the result of the death of a big name. I don't want it to be the result of the death of anyone, but we've already had a death. And we are damn lucky we didn't have more this weekend. That Formula W crash was utterly horrific. Don't seek it out. No one was seriously injured, but it's not what motorsport is about. But it was the kind of crash that turns your stomach. It was horrific. And then in qualifying, Lando goes off there as well and is thrown into the circuit. If Vettel had been a little bit further up the road, there's no way he could have avoided that. If Vettel had gone into Lando where he landed, that does not bear thinking about.
No, Norris went straight across the track, didn't he?
Straight across the track, spinning wildly, throwing debris everywhere. It was in qualifying, there was a gap between them. But if that kind of a crash had happened in a race or earlier on, or if, someone was coming on, it could very easy. The fact that he was thrown back into the track is the problem, and that is exactly what happened with Anton Hubert. Mm-hmm. He crashed, the car was thrown into the circuit, it was then hit, I think, almost square on by another car.
I'm trying to remember the actual accident, but I don't remember. I'm not going to go look for it either. I don't know what wall he hit or what side he hit and where he bounced back onto. But yeah, he ended up back on the kind of racing line and was collected, T-boned, wasn't he?
Yeah. So it's something that has to be changed. Now, in the past, they've resisted wanting to make any changes, and the excuse I've always been told is there's a river running alongside the circuit there. So that's why I've always said, we can't do it because of that. And look, I'm here to tell you that they literally have built new parts of Hong Kong and Singapore to build hotels and everything on there. I'm pretty sure if they wanted to, they can build more runoff areas either side of those corners. I don't want them to change the corners themselves. I love the corners. I love the challenge of those corners. I love seeing cars hurtle up that hill. But they have to push back the runoff areas and those barriers so that if cars do come off and hit those barriers, they're not thrown back into the circuit.
Okay. I'm just thinking, because over the years, the runoff areas have changed. I'm sure when I first started watching it was all gravel on both sides. Because I remember Jacques Villeneuve and Zonta doing almost carbon copy crashes in their BARs and ripping the crap out of both of them cars as well. No, Alex Zanardi, did he have a crash there as well? I think he did, didn't he?
Well, wasn't the big one at Spa just at the bottom of Eau Rouge?
It was heading towards it, yes. The one in 1998.
They have pushed the barriers back a bit. But look, we've had 3 races in 3 years here. Mm-hmm. And in all 3 of those races, there have been collisions which have thrown cars into the circuit.
Yeah.
That tells me there is a problem with those barriers and that circuit. And you have to make a choice. And the choice is you either fix that so cars aren't thrown into the track and into the circuit, or we don't race there. Those are literally the only 2 options you have.
Yeah. Yeah, because nobody wants to change the corners, do they?
No, we don't, because it's iconic. It's such a great corner. We love seeing drivers challenge it. The onboard helmet cam we saw from Alonso today was from yesterday was amazing. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get rid of the corner itself. I don't want to change the corner and the hill on the straight. They just need to change the runoff areas and the barriers.
Okay. So, what do we do then? Do we bring the wall further back, remove a grandstand, flatten it off a little bit, put some gravel there, or bring a wall forward? That sounds crazy.
Yes, it does. Very.
It does sound bonkers, but bringing a wall forward, what about that? Because then you're not going to have them spat out into the track at the top of Radion where it is a blind crest. And I think that's half the problem. When there's a blind crest, you're going up you're driving up a wall, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only until you get to the crest of that do you see the carnage in front of you, and then you don't have any time to react. If someone pushes too hard, collects the wall, and wipes out, you're going to see them heading down towards Eau Rouge, and you're going to see them in front of you. You're going to see the accident, and you're going to have more time to react than on a blind crest. It's an idea, probably not one that people would put towards and think, well, why would you want to move the wall forwards? But it's an idea. I think all ideas have to go on the table.
Actually, you know what? I've got an idea. This is a good idea.
Okay.
It's a great idea. What we're going to do is we're going to take your idea and we're going to go over here to the fridge.
Son of a bitch. Okay. Yes.
No. I see what you're saying. Part of the issue, if you want to call it the issue, is because, you have the forests, right, which come quite close up to the track. You've got this river. There's a lovely little house just there as well. I don't know if that's part of the facilities on the circuit, or if it's just someone's house that has the best view in the world. But I think what they have to do is they're just going to have to either develop new technology to make the barriers something that almost like a catch fence,
mm-hmm.
where if a car goes into it, it slows it down and keeps hold of it, or something like gravel in effect, or just something to stop the cars going in with such speed that the barriers then throw them back out onto the circuit.
Yeah, that is the problem. They've already put tarmac down there, so you have the grip from the asphalt heading towards the barriers. It is once you hit the barriers, it spits you back out. But you don't want a sudden stop. That's where problems happen, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not speed that kills you; it's the sudden stop. So you have to dissipate the energy, and that's what the cars do. The cars dissipate energy. That's why the cars disintegrate in the way they do. It's why carbon goes everywhere. It's why Lando's car spinning like that it was doing was good, because it's dissipating energy, and that energy's not going into Lando.
Well, on his crash, did you think the actual impact was that great? It didn't seem that great, did it? It was more the spinning, and it's because the car looks an absolute mess.
Well, he's gone in kind of backwards, but yeah, the crash itself didn't seem all that horrific or bad, but it threw him back out into the circuit, and that is the issue here. It's not the crash itself, and that's why I'm saying there's not a problem with the corners themselves. It's Tamburello's the one they couldn't change. That's why. That's the one that had the river behind it.
That had it has a river behind it. But then again, I always thought, why couldn't you build over the river?
Yeah, but my point is that Tamburello, there was the river behind it. That's why that they couldn't push. That was why they said they couldn't push back the concrete wall there. But I think what they have to do is they have to push these barriers back away from the circuit a little bit more. I'm not saying we have to go to the same extent that we have at Paul Ricard, but you've got to give a bit more space. So, if you come off into those barriers, because if you can find a picture looking up to Eau Rouge, the way it the barriers go, they kind of, follow the corner as you'd expect, but they get closer to the circuit as you come towards the exit of the corner.
Yeah.
Because, you're not going to crash on the exit of a corner, basically. You're going to crash going into the corner.
Mm.
But as a result of that, if you hit those barriers and you feed along them, they feed you back into the circuit.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
So it's almost like what you need to do is keep the same distance throughout the entire corner to stop any chance of a car coming and being thrown back into it.
Mm.
So, it's they are reprofiling for next year, I believe. That is a plan.
Okay.
But it's something they have to look at and to sort out. Part of why, I think we're talking about this as well, though, is because I think if we hadn't had that Formula W crash and Lando's crash, I don't think they'd have necessarily been quite so gun-shy in the, and I'm finger quoting here, race that we had today.
It definitely had an effect, didn't it? There was I was nervous for the race today because as soon as you saw the rain, and it was lashing down. There was a lot of water around it. It was peeing down all day, and I think it relented a little bit during the stopped session, but I think we missed our window of opportunity to get any sort of racing going. But I think they erred on the side of caution, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. My problem with what they did, and I know already Lewis Hamilton has said this, but having a race classed as a race after 2 laps behind a safety car, and I was venting this on the Discord and Twitter. I just couldn't stop today. It was just frustrating me. I don't think that should have been an event. This was checkboxing by the numbers. This was, we have an event, we have sponsors, we need a certain amount of laps to tick all them little boxes to say that we've had an event, and screw over the people that need refunds for this race. I'm not saying that they're not going to give refunds, but that is not a race that you should be paying for. That was a farce. That was trying to drag something out that wasn't there. And having that, and then having the podium after that, it was all just embarrassing. It was very much like Indy 2005, if not more of a shambles, because we didn't get a race.
It was bullshit. Bullshit. It was shit. It was, and you're right. The only reason they did that was to say there was an event. For insurance purposes, so that was why they did it. At one point, they started doing this countdown timer, saying that, because if you think back, all those years ago to the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix,
Yep,
similar sort of circumstances. The race started and then it stopped after I think 13 laps,
right,
and then we were sitting waiting for the racing to resume, and it was like 2 hours later before that happened, and at least then we'd had a few laps at the beginning, and it was kind of clear that wasn't going to happen. But after that event, they started saying there's a time limit between when the race starts and the event ends, which apparently now is 3 hours. I thought it was 4. Apparently now it's 3.
Well, this is one of the problems I had with today: the communication between the FIA, the commentary, and us, and us, which thought it was 4 hours, and the clock starts, but there was no indication of the clock starting or indication of laps, because as soon as you pull away for that formation lap, then you're told that you're going to be starting behind the safety car, and then you go, and then your laps start counting down. And there was none of that. There was nothing visualized about this, especially with when they pushed back the starts, where you had, we're going to be starting 15 minutes late, and then 20 minutes late, and then 25. And there was some confusion as to the teams are starting the engines, ticking them over, using fuel, and then cutting them off. So you lose a lap. Was that a thing? Wasn't that a thing? That thing was bandied around, and people didn't know. And really, Michael Massey should have been turning around and saying, right, this is where we are with the laps, keeping everyone up informed, but we weren't informed. It was an absolute sham. We, the viewers, goodness knows what it was like for the people actually at the circuit, whether they were being informed or not. I heard that the tannoys weren't even working at one point as well. So I thought it was a sham that we weren't even informed as to what was going on. And you're right, I thought it was 4 hours from lights out until the end of the race. The race must be no longer than 2 hours in a 4 hour window. So you can have a break for certain events, red flags, etc. But it has to be a 4 hour window. But today, it was 3. They were saying 3. Now,
Well, it was 3 hours until it wasn't.
Yeah, and then they decided it wasn't, didn't they?
Yeah.
See what I mean?
It's
an absolute sham.
Look, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, or if this is your first time listening, you heard that little disclaimer at the beginning. We're a pair of idiots, and we make no bones about that. We don't know the sport inside and out. You know, we don't sit on the beach in our summer break reading the 99 pages of sporting regulations. We've got better shit to do than that. So we can be forgiven for not necessarily knowing all the ins and outs. But when you have not only the team managers not sure what's the rules, but the race director as well, I mean, I'm sorry, but that kind of suggests that y'all got a problem that needs addressing somewhere.
Yeah. It needs to be some sort of communication here.
It's just like no one seemed to know what was happening. And then you had all the stuff with Perez, who spun out on his way to the grid, which was quite funny. And then, oh, well, he's out. But then later on, it's like, Michael, can we put him back? No, you can't. Why not? Well, because you had an outside assistance in the race, but he spun out before the race. Oh. Let me get back to you on that. Yeah, it's okay. He can be in the race.
Do you know what? I think they would have been in a better situation if they hadn't phoned up Michael and said, yeah, we're pulling the car out of the race. We're not going to be able to start. They would have been better off not saying that. I think that was partly their downfall. And then Mercedes coming along and saying, oh, but they're not allowed to start. They're not allowed. They shouldn't be starting. And then we didn't know whether he was 1 lap down or 5 laps down. What was going on today?
In the end, listener, it didn't matter. But it was pretty farcical. It was, no one had any real clue what was going on. And, the best chance to start the race really was when the race started and, trying to clear the water, with the cars. I mean, it was pointed out repeatedly that the only way to clear the water is having cars running. But because of the length of this circuit, you can't clear it by the time the cars come around to do this. We've got a listener on the boards, Oliver Monk, I think it is, who does something in engineering or construction. And he once showed us like some magic tarmac which just absorbs water. Why aren't they surfacing the circuits in that stuff?
Because it's probably millions and millions of pounds more than what it would be to service a track anyway.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But, it is incredibly frustrating when, we're watching that. And because, we grew up throughout the 90s watching Formula One races. And, we even heard this from Martin Brundle when they did race in conditions which were wetter than that, where visibility was less than that. Mm-hmm. I'm not advocating that they should just put on their big boy pants and just go out and do it anyway, because I understand it's a different time, it's a different mindset. We do not want, to risk death and injury in these when, the cars aren't suitable. But there's still a certain amount of the cars are just not, able to run in the wet. The wet tyres really aren't up for it, are they?
I'm glad you're the one that brought that up, because no, they are not. We have, I know it's a different time. I know thought processes differently, and health and safety as well. And we can't have people just crashing and then deciding, oh no, we shouldn't be racing. But the cars nowadays have the best aerodynamics, more downforce. They are the most drivable, the strongest, the safest cars ever raced. And yet you go out in rain that is less than what we had in Fuji 2007, Canada 2011, Malaysia 2009. I don't know. That seemed like a good time to actually stop the race, because even the European Grand Prix in 2007, they still carried on racing for that for a little while, and then they stopped the race. These cars are more than capable of driving. I don't think the tyres are up for it. And it's proven, because as soon as you get a hint that the window to use the wet weather tyres is microscopic, everyone would rather be on the inters. And that is a bad thing, because you need a crossover, and there is no... Everyone would just want inters immediately. They are now the rain tyre. And that's not what they were. They were meant to be like the intermediate between wet weather tyres and dry slick tyres, weren't they? And now they've become the de facto wet weather tyre. Maybe they're too good. I don't know, but I think the wet weather tyre is not fit for purpose. That, I know I've screamed that a couple of times, but they are not fit for purpose, because as soon as people have the opportunity, they bang on the inters. Why? Because they perform better.
Yeah, they do perform better. I don't think we can entirely lay the blame, though, at Pirelli's door, though, because they can never get teams. I mean, they can't get teams to do tyre testing at the best of time.
No.
But whenever it rains in testing, they just don't want to go out in it. They're like kids who just don't want to go out and play in the rain. And maybe this is something the FIA are going to have to kind of get a handle on and force teams to take part in wet weather tyre testing, to force them to help them develop these tyres. Because, as it currently stands, what's even the point in even attempting to run in it? I just wanted to just go back, though, to your point about those other races which were wet. And, absolutely, they were much worse. But I think all of that changed in 2014. With Jules Bianchi.
Of course, yes.
And I think ever since then, they're very hesitant to be taking risks in the wet. Understandably, but I think that's what has changed the mindset, because that's very fresh in people's minds.
Mm-hmm. So what's the answer? Not racing in the wet?
No, it's developing cars and tyres which can race in the wet.
I think the cars can.
Well, they can in so much as cars can race at the best of times anyway. But the tyres certainly need to be addressed. I mean, I'm kind of curious as to how these new cars next year are going to work in the wet with the ground effects. Because, isn't the idea that it throws the dirty air much higher up behind them?
I'm trying to remember what they were actually doing.
Well, I think it's meant to throw the dirty air in a much higher angle, which will allow the following car to get up closer without losing as much downforce. Mm-hmm. But that does mean, in wet conditions, it's just going to make the mist and that kind of fog effect much more apparent than it is even right now.
It's going to throw the water up higher, definitely. But then, hopefully, you've got like a crosswind which could disperse that somewhere else and not it fall directly straight back down onto the racetrack.
It's not about where it falls, though. It's about the visibility. Mm-hmm. It's about as it's being thrown up behind you. And we saw this in a couple of the shots during the first attempt to start the race, where Max couldn't see the safety car in front of him. Well, we couldn't, at least from the cameras on board.
No, you couldn't. It was horrible, wasn't it? It was. Yeah. It reminded me of
Spa 98 Schumacher Coulthard.
That, but also, hang on, Adelaide 91, which was, weirdly, the shortest race ever up until today.
Was this a short one or was this a long one? Because I'm pretty sure this went on for like 5 hours, didn't it?
Oh, actually, yeah. No, but then again, it's classed as laps, however many laps, and I think Adelaide was 14 laps, and this was officially classed as 1 lap.
Okay, then, yeah, that what, would it be 1 lap? No, it'd have to be 2.
I'm looking on the wiki, it says 1.
Holy fuck. I mean, that's something else. I mean, how can you say you have to have at least 2 laps for it to count as a race? That's bullshit.
I think
2 laps.
It's 2 laps, and then don't they do a count back to the previous lap, which knocks it back down to 1 lap?
No, I'm sorry. No. That is not a Grand Prix. It is. It
is.
Bullshit.
I can show you.
We
I can show you on the internet where people actually got points and pictures of people with trophies for this race.
Well, you can show me those pictures all you want. It doesn't mean it's true. It's definitely a case, I think, where I'm trying to think how much would be acceptable, and I've got to say, something like 15 seems like a good number to say. That I can see being a race. It's far less than we'd ever want. But if you're going to give half points out, 15 laps, fine. I can live with that.
Right.
But 2 laps? Fuck off.
What should they have done then for the race? Should they have kept the safety car out there, them trundled round, hopefully dispersing a bit more water, and try to remove the water and maybe get some sort of dry line there, so then they could release the cars and then they could go racing and see how we go from there?
I mean, look, hindsight's always 20/20. So what we should have probably done is started half an hour earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that. I know you can't do that. That's what we should have done. I don't know. Is there a way they can? They need something better for clearing the water, don't they?
They can start half hour earlier. They used to start at local time, 2:00, didn't they? But now it's all European time, so it's all right for everyone in England to watch it at 2:00.
Okay, as someone from England, can I just please say, fuck the English? But you can't announce the race is going to start at 3:00 and then start it at 2.
Mm-hmm. No,
I understand
right, yeah.
why they can't do that. There's sponsor commitments and all that jazz. I mean, really, what they can do, and the only thing they can do is, make wet weather tyres which are capable of clearing the water rapidly and allow the cars to, get up to operating temperatures to allow them to race. But
I
think if we hadn't have had the Formula W crash, if we hadn't had Lando's crash, I think they'd have probably spent more time initially trying to clear the water.
Yep.
And I think if they'd have done that for maybe 5 or 6 laps, they might have been able to clear enough that they started racing. And then once the cars are going, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all well and good me saying that here and now, right up to the point where someone does have a big crash. And then we're here seeing, well, they should have red flagged it earlier, and these conditions were terrible and they should never have been racing in the first place.
It's true, yeah. If they had raced and someone got hurt, we would have been lambasting them, wouldn't we?
Well, they were already saying it in the qualifying session, weren't they? They were, when we got to Q3, it was like, should we have been having the should qualifying have Q3 have started, and they went with it. Lando on his first flying lap went straight off, and you got Vettel saying, red flag, what was I saying?
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Can we just spend a moment talking about Vettel and what he did?
Oh, when he stopped?
When he stopped, just to make sure. You could hear the anger because he was informed exactly where the accident was, so he knew it was right in front of him. You could see the lights as well, and probably the damage to the barrier. And so he was well aware of what was going on. He was angry, but then his first thought is, okay, let's go have a look. Let's make sure. And he did. And I really appreciate him for doing that. I thought that was a great gesture. And you know that he would have unbuckled himself if there was no response whatsoever. You'd know that he would have been straight there.
Yeah. And I love that about Vettel. And, Vettel in this era of his career is possibly my favourite driver on the grid right now. I think he's almost certainly the best human being on the grid right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw all the pictures people have been posting of the mess that some of the grandstands were left in afterwards.
Oh, I could see that on the TV.
Yeah, but I think it was on the ESPN Twitter feed, and whoever runs their Twitter feed said, Seb taught us to be better than this, people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now you could see that on the not even on the grandstands, on the muddy footpaths that people were standing on. There was just litter all over the place. You're like, well, hang on, well, weren't we told to sort this out earlier on, and yet here we are still doing this?
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting, and it's disappointing, but it's humans for you.
Yeah.
And look, I respect all those fans who turned up to watch a race, and who were no doubt disappointed that they had to witness that farce. And yeah, it is up there with the 2005 US Grand Prix, where it was, it wasn't as bad in that the US Grand Prix could have been resolved, but stubbornness and political reasons prevented it from happening.
True.
This was largely down to the weather, but I don't see why they even bothered going out on that second attempt when it clearly hadn't improved at all. I know they were going around with the trucks and the guys were out there with the rubber brooms trying to sweep the water away.
Mm-hmm.
But it became apparent very quickly the only reason they were doing it was to get 2 laps so they could have the classification. I mean, I would have been less incensed if they'd have done the 2 laps in the first place and then just came into the pits and we waited for 3 hours and they said, oh, well, never mind, we're going home now.
Yes,
But
maybe
stringing along,
Well, then again, just saying that, because we don't know if the race had started then or not. That's the problem.
Yeah, that was stupid as well, wasn't it? Because, I mean, I imagine there's going to be quite the autopsy after this. With and Stefano Domenicali was here as well, wasn't there? So I'm wondering if there's going to be some sitting down and some clarification over some of these rules taking place.
Well, I remember wet races, when they do start behind the safety car, they announce to everyone, everyone's aware, we are starting behind the safety car. There is no formation lap. So basically, you gain an extra lap of fuel. And so as soon as you cross that first checkered line, the start-finish line, okay, we are now on lap 1. And then you go round with the safety car, and if it's too wet, then you go into the pits. This time round, they set off with the safety car, but there was no information as to, we are now go. We are doing a sighting lap to see how we go. We've never done that before. We start the race. And if they had started the race, like you said, got 4 or 5 laps in, banker laps to say, okay, a race has been acted on. We have tried to commit to the contract of having a race. And then stopped it, and then stopped for tea and whatever, and play balls or whatever it is that everyone wants to do. That's fine. But what happened is nobody knew what was going on. We did the laps, which nobody quite knew what these laps were. Then they had to do the banker laps to say, yes, we've had the race. It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. There was no lap counter or anything like that. In the past we have seen the lap times come down, etc. So I think that's a major problem of it. And I think what you said, if they'd got the laps in, completed we've tried to do a race, but the weather permitting has not allowed us to, that would have sat a bit more comfortable. For me, anyway.
Yeah, it would have felt less disingenuous. It would have felt more like they made an earnest attempt at the beginning, but the weather just means it's impossible to go on. Whereas what they did do just made it feel like, well, shit, if we don't do another lap now, we're going to have to give all these people back their money. We're going to have to pay, the sponsors. Everyone's going to be really annoyed. Let's just go out and do a lap. And then, we can say we put on the race. And yeah, that's just, it's disingenuous. It's pathetic. It's insulting is the only word for it. It's insulting. I mean, even Sky gave up halfway through, didn't they?
Yep.
And started running adverts and, showing content that they've been showing previously. So I jumped over to F1 TV, which was great, because they brought in their own commentary team. You had Sam Collins and Alex Brundle were commentating over some of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It means you missed out on the marshals playing bowls as well, which was awesome.
Oh, I saw that. See, I'm looking at the race results, and I've gone to Formula1.com. Okay, so you can go to this race, the Belgian Grand Prix 2021 race results. Max Verstappen, Red Bull, 1 lap completed in 3 minutes 27. So he had 1 lap. So what were the laps before? Well, because they left the grid, went round, did another lap, and then came into the pits. What were they? Scotch mist. They were laps. They were fueled laps. We would have had to take them off the end results. Nobody knew what was going on, because then we went out and did some laps to get that lap on the account to be classed as a race. So what were they doing? Nobody knows.
No one knows. I have no idea whatsoever. It was, farcical is the only word to describe it.
Yeah.
Formula One has not showered itself with glory this week. Here's a terrifying thought. Can you imagine if this was the Zandvoort?
Oh, yeah. That's next week, isn't it?
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
the first time back there in years, Max Verstappen, at the pointy end of the championship, and this is what happened, where no one knows what's going on. It's been going backwards and forwards. Spa's been doing races, 50 odd years now. It's an established circuit, and to be honest, when there's wet race and wet weather there, we're kind of used to it. But this is a new circuit you're kind of bringing it to. There'd been bloody riots, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only word for it. There'd be riots.
Yeah, I think there would be. Yeah, but rightly so, because this. I'm surprised I didn't see more people. The crowd there were fantastic. They were brilliant. There was no thumbs down or anything like that. People were cheering. People playing with their brollies, sliding down mud, etc. There was no people throwing crap onto the track. In the 2005 Indy one, people were throwing crap onto the track as they were leaving because they were so disgusted as what was going on. There was none of that. It was just, look, the weather dealt us a bit of a shitter today, didn't it? And we have to move on. And they're right. We can't control the weather unless we put these under domes. And I'm sure Bernie came up with that idea at some point as well. He did. But we can't control the weather. And so this is going to happen. The last time a race was stopped for bad weather and given half points was Malaysia 2009. I think I'm right.
Yeah, I remember that. That was Mark. What was
the Felipe baby thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Stay cool, baby. Stay cool.
Yeah. I need the clean visor. I need the yeah. And Jenson Button won that, and then the half points were given but there were still some laps completed in that. But the deluge that was there, it just made it impossible for people
they did 31 laps on that race,
right?
Which 31, a lot better than 56. Than 1.
Yeah, a lot better than 1. Yes. But where did that one come from? We saw more than 1 lap. Oh my god. Oh, I don't know what to do now. I really don't know what to do.
It's just been. It's like a fever dream almost, isn't it? I'm like, we all got together. We all went to the race. Something happened, but I don't know what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's as if we went to the race and got blind drunk and then just came home and gone, what do we do? I'm sure it's a really good night because we can't remember what was going on, but, what happened? And you're like, I don't know. What did happen?
Now, who are you? Who are you? Who is she?
Okay, so can we talk about Perez and what happened to him going to the grid?
Oh, he did a max, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a max, but a bit of a bigger one.
He did a bigger max.
How can you get bigger than max? Max is max, isn't it?
Well, max is max, yes. But he did bigger.
And then max.
He did bigger max.
He went to 11. He's number 11!
It's a conspiracy, man. It all connect. The dots all connect.
It did just then, didn't it? that felt a bit weird. Okay, so he went to the grid. He did his outlap from the pits. He was on full wets. Once again, don't think they're fit for purpose. And he got to the end of the Kemmel Straight, went into the chicane, possibly a bit too hot, trying to find the limit, find out what's going on, ended up running on the curb on the left-hand side, and it just spat him out, and he ended up whacking his driver's side front off the car, didn't he?
Yeah, well, it's the whole, you hit at just the wrong angle, at just the wrong speed, and it just destroyed his front right corner. The nose is easy to fix, but, he broke the steering arm, the suspension rods and everything.
Yep.
And, that's it. He was out of the race. But then, after the cars did the formation lap and then dived into the pit lane, it was like, well, we might have a bit of time to get the car fixed. And we had the wonderful back and forth. We're getting a lot more of this use out of this radio connection to old Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like an argument between, Red Bull and Massey, where he goes, what did Massey say? He goes like, they can't have assistance once they've done it. He turns around and goes, it's not Le Mans.
That's brilliant.
And they pointed out that, well, look, this is how we're reading it. And he was like, all right, fine, I'll go and speak to the stewards. And then he came back to him and said, yeah, okay, fine, you were right.
So they did have a discussion about it and decided to let him race, didn't they?
Apparently so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Well, he did race, so I'm guessing so.
Well, yeah, he was there.
He was there, possibly a lap down, maybe not. We're not entirely sure.
Hang on, let's go and have a look. He's not classed as a lap down. He's just classed as 38 seconds behind.
Ahead of Lance Stroll, who apparently has been given a 10-second penalty.
So he didn't lose any laps. What were those laps then? At the beginning, what were they?
It's a mystery. We need the X-Files music to play now.
This is going into the Hall of Fame. Missing laps of Spa.
Well, make a note, damn it.
I'm going to make a note. Hang on. Missing laps of Spa. There we go. That goes into the Hall of Fame. The laps that never were. Because if they actually happened, because I saw them, they happened, then Sergio wasn't involved in them, so he should have been laps down, shouldn't he?
Well, you think so?
He should be. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we talk about the qualifying then? Because there was a qualifying that took place. It was wet conditions, though, wasn't it?
Well, the qualifying, I think, was the conditions we were hoping to have in the race, where it's wet but manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly what we were getting in Q1 and Q2, which was entertaining. And I mean, this is the problem. Because you can't. What we should have done? We should have done the race on the Saturday, but we didn't know we were going to get this amount of rain on the Sunday. But as always, apparently, the F3 race didn't actually start until 6 o'clock or something, did it?
The qualifying was paused for some time, wasn't it? Because of the Norris incident.
Yeah, it was, but still, the rain was heavy, so I just think the F3 race ended up going out later, and towards the end of it, apparently it was a bit sketchy because it was so dark, given how overcast it was.
Yeah, but there was a hero of the weekend through the through qualifying, and it was Russell, wasn't it, in the Williams?
It's the one bright spot out of this weekend has been George Russell, who, and I hope you're all sitting down, ladies and gentlemen, but got himself to second on the grid in a Williams.
Yeah.
Not in a Mercedes, in a Williams.
I think it's so cool.
It's amazing. It's like, Dan, we're going to come and laugh at you, mate. Because come on, dude. He got a Williams on second. He outqualified Sir Lewis Hamilton in a Williams.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It was a great lap. I think it was a very well timed lap. It was he was in the right place at the right time on the right tyres, and it just all fell into place. He was on provisional pole for one moment as well, wasn't he? Until Max Verstappen snatched it from him.
Him and Lando were flying all the way through all of the qualifying sessions. They had fantastic pace. I mean, I'm looking here. In Q1, he qualified. Well, he was 5th fastest.
Yep.
And in Q2, 8th fastest. So that wasn't so good. But he was there or thereabouts. And yeah, I mean, I think if Lando hadn't had his little incident, I think Lando very much was on for pole position today.
Well, he'd set the fastest laps in both Q1 and Q2 at that point, hadn't he?
Yeah.
So there was a possibility that Lando could have been at the he was going to be at the sharp end. He possibly could have been on pole position as well. But then again, it did rain again for Q3, so we don't quite know. But then again, he succumbed to that accident, didn't he? So the betting person would have, yes, put Norris on pole position, and God bless everyone that chose Norris to be on pole position in our listeners' league.
You're all a fiver out though now, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
And I was a little miffed when Max got it. Not anything against Max. It was just I really wanted George to get that provisional pole because it was just so amazing. And that's why I love wet races, when you can have the wet races, because you can have a Williams, in the hands of someone like George Russell, be at the sharp end, be, getting pole. That's a car that last year and the year before was at the back of a grid, every week.
Yeah.
It has no right being up there, but it's up there at the pointy end. Rain was always the great equalizer. Rain said, your aero, your engine performance, doesn't matter. It's all about, the thing between the seat and the steering wheel.
Yes.
But with the current tyres and current regulations and the way the cars are currently set up, the operating window to do it in the wet is just so narrow. And they need to find a way to expand that operating window so we can have more races in the wet.
Yeah. I once again, I'm bouncing back to the tyres. I apologise for this, but I think it proves my point that I know people don't want to go out racing and qualifying on these wet tyres because you're not going to get a lap in that's going to put you on pole position because you're always going to be beaten by the Inters. But we had the stoppage after the Lando Norris crash. And then immediately as soon as the green light was given, people were out on the Inters. So there must have been a period where the wet weather would have cut the mustard through the water and been able to do laps. There must have been. Otherwise, why did the green light go on then so then people can go on Inters? That means you've waited too long because there was an opportunity to get people round on the wets, throw the water up, and then go on to Inters and make it a bit more interesting after that. But because the window of opportunity with these blue wall wet tyres is so small, they didn't. And so that's why people are on the Inters. Mercedes nearly came a cropper as well in Q2. They nearly didn't make it through because they'd gone on to the Inters too late. And I think they were possibly running older Inters as well. And so they nearly came a cropper, but they ended up getting through, etc., yada, yada, yada. But yeah, sorry, I keep banging on about these tyres, man, but it's there's something wrong there that really annoys me. Really,
it kind of annoys me that they're limited on Inters and wet weather tyres. I know it's very rare, but we were in the situation where they might run out of Inter tyres because they only have 4 sets for the weekend, and if it's doing this all weekend, I mean that just shows that they don't seriously expect to have to race in the rain.
Yeah. They are there just to cover their asses. And one day, if it does rain again like this in another place, either there won't be a race, or we'll have one race with magical laps that didn't happen, or someone's going to run out of tyres at one point, aren't they? Someone's going to burn them all.
That'd be
up.
interesting. Yeah. What if someone? Because one thing I remember about the wets is, if you run them too much in drying conditions, they could become slick effectively, can't they?
Yes. Yeah.
So what if someone had done that and then it started raining again, but they've shagged all their wet tyres?
Well, they'd probably go out, spin off, and then that'd be it for the rest of the day, wouldn't it? That would be their session over. They have no choice. But then I can't see a team sending a driver out with Dodge Pop McDougall tyres on.
One could only hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was far from the crowning glory that is the highs of Formula One this season. This we wanted rain at Spa, but maybe not this much. Or maybe it's more we need to fix the formulas so we can enjoy this level of rain at Spa.
Are the new? I think you already answered this earlier on, but are the new cars going to be able to race here in wet weather?
I don't really know, and a part of the reasons that I don't really know is we don't really have any sense of what the tyres are going to be like, do we?
Yeah, it's true.
And that is going to really be a part of it. I think what they're going to have to do is, I think the FIA are going to have to mandate wet weather tyre testing. And I think it might be they go to a circuit with sprinkler systems installed.
Yep.
And force the teams to conduct a test in the wet.
Yeah. That'd be a good, PA test, wouldn't it?
PA?
PA? No. I can't think of the words now. Sorry. It'll be a good test for I'm forgetting all my words. Oh no. It'll be a good test. There you go. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go with that.
It's the pictures of mayonnaise and chips that have just thrown me. That's all.
I'd managed to expel that image from my mind. Thank you very much, sir, for bringing that back.
Okay, a couple of things. Number one,
okay.
I'm really sorry, guys. I don't like ice cream. I'm sorry. Some people seem shocked at that. I don't like ice cream. I was the saddest kid at parties. What can I tell you? And mayonnaise on chips? I know it's a thing. I've been tweeting at the Grand Prix pod for years now. And mayonnaise on chips has got me the most response in, however, 5 years, 6 years, however long I've been doing it. That is the biggest response I've ever had. And everyone was like, "Yeah, no, it's lush, it's gorgeous, it's the best." Like, what? What are you doing? It's like that moment when I went up north and people put gravy on their chicken. It's like on their KFC, not just chicken, because that's all right. But yeah, gravy on KFC. Like, what are you doing? Where's the beans? Oh no, we have gravy. What? Yeah, gravy. What's the matter? So that my eyes have been opened.
You've got to broaden your horizons, mate. That's what it's all about.
Mayonnaise on chips. Get out of it.
Although, Shonky Lab episode, condiments, stick it on the list.
Oh, that's a good... Oh, okay. Condiments, yep. Condiments. I can do an hour on that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, where do we go from here? Do we fall back into normal times and go through results and standings, etc.? Because there were points awarded, weren't there?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can go for that, and obviously we want to hear from what everyone else has to think. But I mean, yeah, this was far from Formula One's shining best. You know, if you're trying to convince someone to watch the sport, to get into it, and you said just watch the Spa race. Spa race is always good. Well, you've lost them for life because they ain't ever coming back now.
No, they're like, what is this shambles? That was disgusting. Okay, all right then. Well, let's get into the results. So, in qualifying, Max Verstappen did grab pole position, as we've said, from George Russell, and that's how it ended in the race. Max Verstappen won. He was awarded the win. George Russell was second. Lewis Hamilton was third. Daniel Ricciardo was fourth. Sebastian Vettel was fifth. Pierre Gasly was sixth. Esteban Ocon was seventh. Charles Leclerc was eighth. Nicholas Latifi scoring points in ninth. And Carlos Sainz in the other Ferrari in 10th position. Now, the points were split in half, weren't they? So
it was half points, but I think you made a small mistake there, mate.
Did I?
Yeah, who did you say won?
Max Verstappen.
No, I think you'll find it was Bert Mylander came across the line first.
Ah, okay. Oh, well, hang on. Who's it? Alan Van der Merwe? Is it?
The medical car driver,
He did more laps, didn't he?
Yeah, he did more laps, yeah, but Bert Mylander did cross the line first.
When they actually decided, yes, this is a race type thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I bet he was feeling pretty smug just sitting there in his safety car with the heating on and everything.
Yeah. He was just sat there, wasn't he? It was brilliant.
Well, our friends over at Formula Nerds somehow have managed to get hold of his WhatsApp number. And I have to say, show remarkable restraint by not just spamming him with messages like we would be doing, telling him how to do his job. But they got him to send him a selfie at one point, and you could see him taking the selfie on the F1 TV footage.
Really nice
Yeah.
one. Well done, chaps. Well done. Well done for playing that card. Well done. Cool. Okay. Right. Yeah. So we've done the results. There were no fastest laps or anything like that. We're not going to mention that.
I was going to say there was, but we ain't talking about that. But shall I do the championship standings?
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
So after the, and once again I'm finger quoting here, race, the standings are completely unchanged except for the constructors' side, but we'll get to that in a second. We have Perez in 5th with 104, Bottas in 4th with 108, Lando is 3rd with 113, and then really annoyingly, Max is 2nd with 199.5, and Sir Lewis Hamilton is leading with a 202.5. I hate half points.
Why?
So annoying.
I think that's so cool.
So annoying. Anyway, on the constructors' side, Alpine are 5th with 80. Ferrari dropped down to 4th with 165.5.
I love it that you don't like it.
Oh, good. I'm glad we found something there. McLaren are up to 3rd with 169. Nice. Red Bull are 2nd with 303.5. And Mercedes are in the lead with 310.5. It says NCC 1701-A all over again. Hate it.
I like it. It's because it doesn't come round often. So I think it's always nice to see the 0.5. That's cool. It's good. Okay, so we've done that. Emails and stuff on the Facebook group. What would you want to do first? Because we did end up having an email.
Well, let's do the email first. So we've received an email from Pippa Cottarelli, and they write, "Evening, chaps. Well, I was looking forward to this pod as I'm hoping it will help us all process what the fuck happened this weekend, and it's guaranteed to more exciting than today's race." I hope you heard the quotation marks there. Qualifying. It felt inevitable that they would send them out into pouring rain. We were going to get a big off. Gutted it was Lando. Felt physically sick when you saw it all going wrong at Eau Rouge Radion yet again. Thank goodness there was no one close to him on the track, and he was okay. Seb, what a gentleman, stopping to check he was okay. They go back out on Inters, confused.com. And then Russell gets provisional pole, so Lewis P2, and you think that's the greatest upset ever about to happen, only for Max to steal it all away. Nevertheless, surely Russell lap was one for the ages. And the race, not race. And today, surely you should have to complete at least 25% of the race distance under green flag conditions to award a race classification. In any points, it's hardly a race when there's no racing. I will confess that I actually felt a little relieved they didn't race at any point in those conditions, though. It felt nerve-wracking enough trying to see them emerge behind the safety car. So what will the FIA doing this weekend, and what can they do to avoid a repeat of this bizarre podium I've ever watched? As ever, I will listen carefully to you both upon the soapbox and try not to laugh out loud as my husband snores behind me. Pippa! I can't guarantee that anything we've said has been particularly entertaining this week.
No, the entertainment factor has been thin on the ground, hasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. We've not had those, giggling on the floor moments that we sometimes aspire to have.
No, that's true. It's true. Although I do agree with her with the feeling nervous with the cars there. Max was really close to that safety car as well, wasn't he?
I was expecting an Alex Verch moment at some point.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was... Actually, what did Verts do?
He went into the back of a safety car in
Did he?
Formula 3, I think it was. Yeah.
Right, I'm going to have to look at that at some point. But, yeah, he was really close, but I was nervous. I'm glad they didn't race, because when you saw the spray kicking up, it was thick. Real thick. And yeah, they probably shouldn't be going racing if you can't see what's going on in front of you, etc. But I don't know, man. Like we've said before earlier in this race, if we had gone racing and someone had got hurt, we'd have been lambasted them and just screaming from the rooftops and climbing bell towers and taking sniper shots at anyone that was in charge. And I'm glad that we're not in that situation. So, erring on the side of caution, I'm glad that there wasn't a race, but the way that it happened was farcical. So they should have kept us more informed.
I think, yes, these were exceptional circumstances, but really just the way this kind of came about where they didn't know what was happening either, just made it feel really amateurish. It felt much more like it was just some sort of club meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And, someone had to go and get, dusty old rulebook out to look up some obscure regulation, not the pinnacle of international motorsport that this is supposed to be. Yeah. Also, top tip, folks, if you want an actual funny, laugh out loud podcast to listen to, you should really check out this week's Deck Chairs and Dirty Air, because that's funny.
I don't remember. What did we do?
And moderately disturbing.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, it's just clicked back in. Okay, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Had you blanked that from your mind?
I think I had, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say, folks, is it involves chaps and a YMCA.
No racing, that's a paddling.
No, not brave enough tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to Facebook stuff?
Yes, why not? Yeah, what have we got from the good people over there?
There's a lot of people complaining about the lack of racing and stuff. So, I'm just trying to see if there's any people actually with comments, asking what's...
Well, there were a lot of comments on your post, weren't there? Like 60 plus comments. So if you want to read them all, then please head over to the Facebook group.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted me to read them all. I'm like, that's just not happening.
No, I know that's not happening.
I do read them all. I'm just not going to read them all out. We had a question from Eddie Chung about why is Sergio allowed to start the race with the same number of laps as all the other drivers. Don't know. And it would appear no one else knows either.
No,
so...
we don't know. He should have been behind. Definitely. I'm glad that they did let him in, though. I think it's right that they let him in.
Yeah, but he should have been allowed in with a lap down, but apparently that lap doesn't count.
Mm.
It's a Schrodinger's lap. It doesn't happen unless you saw... I don't know.
We saw it, mate. We saw it. We are in the box, obviously.
Yes. Quite a few people speculating as to would we record a race or would we do two if it was postponed until tomorrow? No, we will not do two. We're just doing one.
We got 2 to do next. Hang on, where are we next time? No, we're in Netherlands next time, aren't we? So Italy.
Yes,
we're doing
Zandvoort.
2.
Are we doing? Oh yeah, we're doing this sprint race.
Yeah, they have the sprint race, so we have to. There was too much to cram in for the British Grand Prix. There was so much going on and too much to cram in. So for the sprint, we'll do one on the Saturday and maybe one on the Sunday for the race as well.
Okay, here we go. So Dean Holt writes, what a shame. I was really looking forward to this one, as Spa is one of my favourite circuits. But I do think they should postpone the race until the next day, like they do in IndyCar, and just not have a media day on the Thursday or even FP on the Friday, as I'd much rather watch a full race than a few interviews and a couple of practice sessions. Yeah, I mean, there was some speculation about whether or not they could postpone the race till tomorrow. The problem is, I think with IndyCar, it's... because it's something that happens semi-frequently, they're kind of set up for that. But I think part of the problem here, obviously, is getting the marshals for it, who might not be available, and also the spectators on the circuit. You know, they won't necessarily be able to get there because they've only got days off work for yesterday. So, or today, the Sunday.
Yeah. Well, isn't the IndyCar, that's more of a where they're racing in the ovals. They won't race on ovals in the wet because it's far too dangerous. So that's understandable. So they probably schedule into their calendars, okay, yeah, we if we need the extra day, it's there just in case.
Let's see what else we got there. Patrick Filiberto, this is where F1 can learn from NASCAR. Postpone the race to the next day. This ain't like the old days of F1 where they raced with broken cars on the side of the track. It's very true. I mean, if you go and watch some of those old races these days and you see the cars just sitting on the side of a track for the entire lap, it's a little bit cringing-inducing now.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was so normal.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching the Adelaide 94 race. No, it was 94. That's the one, the Mansell one, wasn't it?
He won the 94 one, yes.
Yeah, I think that was it. And I'm watching that, and yeah, you've got cars broken down and just left in corners and just abandoned there, and it's like that's just terrifying.
Yeah, if you want something terrifying to watch the 91 Adelaide race, and it is torrential. That's the one that lasted 14 laps. And there are cars broken down on the main back straight, either side, and they're still racing down that. So at any moment, and there were cars aquaplaning and just jumping to the right and smacking into the wall. So you could have hit any car, any number of cars on the way down there. That is scary.
So let's see what else we got. I mean, there was a few people commenting on the post from Lewis Hamilton, and this is what Lewis wrote. Today was a farce. The only people to lose out are the fans who have paid good money to watch the race. Of course, you can't do anything about the weather, but we have sophisticated equipment to tell what's going on, and it was clear the weather wasn't going to let up. We were sent out for only one reason, and one reason only. 2 laps behind a safety car where there's no possibility to gain or lose a place, or provide entertainment to fans isn't racing. We should have just called it quits, not risked the drivers, and most importantly, refunded the fans who are at the heart of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I know a lot of people going, oh, it was just because about, he doesn't want the points and everything. But at the end of the day, he still walks away from here with a lead. And if they had raced, I mean, what's to say he wouldn't have been caught up in an accident or taken out or something?
Exactly.
I think he's absolutely right, though. It's very much a case that, like I said, if they'd done the 2 laps at the first place, had the 3-hour count, and after that it was done, I think we'd all be a much more better inclined towards the FIA than the farce we kind of had.
Yeah.
Ollie from Formula Nerd says, can't wait for your podcast this evening, chaps. Apparently there's some expectation on us doing something entertaining, so no pressure or anything.
Yeah, really sorry about that, but...
Yeah, we can only work with what they give us, folks, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, there's a lot of comments on the Facebook group. Please do go check it out, facebook.com/groups/ Grand Prix podcast. But yeah, it's just a little bit. It's a little bit of a non-event. I mean, it's we want it to be safe. We want it to be entertaining, but the reason this weekend failed is because of fundamental problems with the wet weather tyres and the way the cars are kind of set up there. That's something that needs to be addressed, and also the barriers that they have on Rouge and Radion. Mm-hmm. And until both of those things are addressed, this will always be the case. We might, because there was a couple of bits of news which we didn't mention, which probably should have done. I mean, look, everyone listening to this is probably a fan of Formula One, so they know this. But with Japan has been cancelled.
Yep.
And it looks like we're only going to get 22 races. But Turkey is apparently still on the red list for UK.
Okay.
So we might end up not going to Turkey. So there has been some speculation we might try and rerun Spa in place of Turkey or in the open slot that we currently have. So we might get another Spa race, but...
What, later in the year?
Yeah, I was going to say, the weather does not get better later in the year in this part of the world.
It's only going to get worse. What do they expect?
When is the best time to do the Belgian race, would you say? Would it be beginning of the summer? June? July?
During the summer break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
Look, the things are still fluid with what's going on in the world. I'm not surprised Japan pulled out, although they did host the Olympics and still are hosting the Olympics. But, let's pull out the Formula One. That's fine. Are we still going to Brazil? Are we still going to America?
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently so. So I still don't think we're going to get 22. I still see another race falling by the wayside. And they're desperate to cram a race in there. And as soon as Japan dropped out, people are going, oh, well, let's jump all these around and something else can go in there. No, let's have a little break. Okay, it fell by the wayside. Let's have 22 races this year. I think 20's fine. And it's still a fluid situation. So I still think we will lose one, maybe two races by the end of this season.
I think there's a very good chance of that being the case. I mean, the problem is, obviously, as we get closer to the end of the year, if a race drops off, you've got less time to organise and plan and arrange it. So we're just going to have to wait and see, I guess.
Yep, they should have doubled up. They should have had... Well, they should have had 2 British Grand Prix again. And they would have been totally different because the week that we had was Scorchio. And then I think the following week it was peeing down with rain. So there you go. You would have had 2 vastly different races.
Or would we have just ended up with Spa but in Silverstone?
We would have, yes. Because they can't race from their bloody tyres. Okay. Where do we go from here? Our predictions. Should we go to our predictions?
Oh, it should be fun, shouldn't it?
Well, there's only 1 point on the table, I'll tell you that. So, I'm contractually obliged to ask you this. Do you know what you went for last time?
I love your optimism asking that week after week.
Like I said, I'm contractually obliged to ask that question as well. So, okay. So, who got pole position? You went for Lewis Hamilton. I went for... Right, we need to talk about this.
We do, yeah. I remember you mentioning this. For 2 reasons. Firstly, that you did it, and secondly, that I allowed it.
Yes. And thirdly, we didn't pick up on it.
Well, exactly.
Because I went with Bottas.
Yeah,
at
Bottas,
the time,
who had a 5-place penalty that we knew about.
We knew about and said about, didn't we?
Yeah.
So why was I would have gone for Max. I should have gone for Max anyway. I'm never going for Bottas ever again. There you go. I struck him from my life. Never again shall I utter the words Bottas. So,
Duly noted.
I went Bottas, so neither of us got a point. So there you go. Imagine if Russell got that. Nobody would have got that either, so it doesn't really matter. For the race, you went with Lewis. You get no points. I went with Max. Apparently there was a race, and Max won the race. So I get a point there. Yay me.
Well, do you get a point or do you get half a point?
I can have half a point. I don't mind having half a point.
I think a half a point.
Do you want me to have... won't that annoy you, though, having a 0.5?
Yeah, but it means you'd have less points overall first.
Okay. Do you know what? I hope I win by 0.5 points now. I really hope I win by 0.5. Because didn't I give you a point for pole position for Monaco, wasn't it? You got a point in Monaco. Yes, you got a point in Monaco. I changed it. Yes, you did. Anyway, fastest lap. There was no fastest lap, so don't worry about that. You went with Leclerc. I went with Max. I probably would have won that. Probably wouldn't have, actually. And a very close one, actually. We wanted to know the points difference between Red Bull and Mercedes at the end of this race. Not in the standings, just the points that they got from the race. And am I right in saying that Red Bull ended up with 12.5 points and Mercedes ended up with 7.5 points? So
you are correct, because both Bottas and Perez were out of the points.
That's right. So I make that as a difference between Red Bull and Mercedes as 5 points.
You are correct.
Cool. I went with 12, so I was nowhere near. You, my friend, you went with 6 points.
So close.
So
close.
You don't get a point for that. You don't even get half
don't.
a point for that. But
Not
so
even
close.
that. But I was so close.
Yeah, well done. So after that, oh no, I've got to change that to You're still on 9 points, so you don't get any points. I am now on 13.5 points.
You're right, that is really going to annoy me.
You said it. So
yeah, I know.
13.5 points. Brilliant.
Actually, it's really going to annoy Dan as well, because he's going to have to put half points for all of these.
Mm-hmm. This time last year, you were on 13 points. Or this point of the season last year, we were at Portugal. You were on 13 points. I was on 15 points.
Well, I seem to recall you still won last year.
I did still win last year, but I'm just letting you know that's where we were standing from last time. So we're both behind on last year's stats.
There's been more races as well by this time last year, isn't there?
No, that's 11 races into the season last year.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So that's that. The listeners, how did the listeners do? Let me pull up on the listeners, because that is somewhere on the Facebook group.
I don't know if he's posted it yet for today, has he?
I think he has, yes. Where is it? Here we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So, Matt Carver is still out in the lead with 18 points. David Wilson, I think he's moved up. Yeah, he got 2 points today. He moves up to 18 with 18 points. Dean Holt, Ian Aldridge, Alistair Jameson, Stuart Sands, Nicola Palmer, Ewan Vass, Chris Harper, and Lee Harvey and Stu are your top 10 at the moment. Yeah, there you go. Can I also just say congratulations to someone got 3 points today. There we go.
Really?
Yeah. Philip Stewart, I think it is.
Yeah.
He's in 11th position. He went with Max, Hamilton, and 5 points in the fourth column. So bravo.
Oh. Yes, golf clap.
Cool. Okay, so moving on from this race, we move on to the Netherlands, don't we? So what do you want for predictions on this one? Because there's no real history, is there? No recent history.
I have stats. This is a professional outfit. I have information for you. So, yes, we're doing the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort. Last time out, Pole position went to Nelson Piquet, senior, not junior, in a Brabham.
Ooh.
The podium was Niki Lauda from Alain Prost from Ayrton Senna, and the fastest lap went to Alain Prost. And in terms of all-time stats, most wins, Jim Clark with 4, and then Jackie Stewart and Niki Lauda tied with 3. And on the constructors' side, Ferrari have won here 9 times, Lotus 6, and McLaren 3.
Okay, cool. So, with you being behind me in the stats, who do you want for pole position?
Oh, I'm just going to go with Max.
Oh, man. Okay. Who am I going to go with? I have to go with Lewis. I have to. Okay. For the race, who do you want?
I'll go Lewis.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to go with Max. And if Lewis doesn't win, it's the only circuit that he hasn't won on the calendar. He's won on every other track, hasn't he?
Well, until we get to Saudi Arabia.
Until we get to Saudi Arabia. But up until that point...
Or we do Qatar.
Up until that point... All right, Mr. Stat. Okay, fine. Fastest lap. Who do you want for fastest lap?
Fastest lap, I'm going to go with... Perez.
Perez. Okay. I'm going to go with... I want to go with Max to get points, but I'm going to go with Leclerc. Because I think, yeah. Maybe I'm throwing a point away there, but I'm going with Leclerc. Fourth column, I haven't given any thought, even though I was watching Formula 1 for 4 hours and had the perfect opportunity to choose something for the fourth column. I haven't thought of anything just yet. Have you got any ideas?
We recorded a couple of deck chairs and dirty airs in that time, couldn't we?
We could have. We should have.
Yeah, but we didn't.
No, we didn't. Damn.
No, we didn't. I mean, the obvious one is to do something with old Max.
How many laps will he lead?
No, that involves a lot of maths, and I can't be bothered doing that kind of stuff. Max Verstappen's race time.
Max Verstappen's race time?
Yeah, because the only race times I have are from 1985.
Oh, okay. Right. What is...
And the circuit's completely changed.
Have they given like an estimated lap time at all?
I don't... Well, if they have, I'd have to Google it. I do not know.
Okay. Let's do some Googling. Let's put a pause in here and let's do some Googling. So we have consulted the internet and we've decided all our ideas are crap. So
yes, they involve math, and we don't want to be doing that.
Can't do that, but we still are doing slightly numbers on this one. The total winning margin between first and second. How many seconds will it be between first and second? I think that's an all right one to work out. It's an easy one to work out. It's just there in plain view, isn't it? So, how many seconds will Max beat Lewis Hamilton, Andy?
I don't know if that will happen, but in terms of what would the distance to be between the winner and second place. Also, are we talking like on the money, or is there a nearest to pin here? Is it plus or minus something? I mean, what are we talking?
I think plus or minus 5 seconds.
Plus or minus 5 seconds.
Is that too much?
Well, I mean, let me just read out a couple of. So in today's quote unquote race,
mm-hmm.
the gap was 1.95 1.995 seconds.
Uh-huh.
But if we go back to the Hungarian Grand Prix,
Yep.
the gap there was 2.76.
Yep.
The British Grand Prix, it was 3.87.
Ooh.
The Austrian Grand Prix, that was 17.9.
Okay.
Styrian Grand Prix was 35.
Ouch.
French Grand Prix, 2.9. Azerbaijan, 1.3.
Maybe a plus or minus 2 seconds then.
Monaco, 8.9. Spanish, 15.8. Portuguese, 29.1. The Emilia Romagna, 22 seconds dead.
Okay.
And in Bahrain, 0.75. That was close.
Okay.
So, yeah. Where am I thinking it's going to be at? I'm going to say 15 seconds.
And should we do plus or minus 5 seconds or plus or minus 2? I reckon 2 seconds is a good enough window.
Plus or minus 2.
Okay, plus or minus 2 seconds on the winning margin. So you're going with what? 18?
15.
15. Okay, I'm going with 8. 8 seconds to be that. So that is set in stone. That is written in pen. You cannot rub that out, as we know. So that is next weekend. Hopefully we actually get a race. Do you reckon we'll get a race?
I fucking hope so.
Well, the rain that was over Belgium, it might travel over to the Holland, Netherlands, Dutch, whatever. It's got 3 names. What do we call it? It's the Dutch, isn't it?
It is the Dutch Grand Prix. Yeah, it might do. That'll be interesting, I suppose.
But it's our first time. I've never seen a race there, so I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Max as well because he missed out on it last year. It was supposed to be there and it got cancelled, didn't it? So I'm hoping for a good race. We need something now because that today was just a hot mess. And hopefully, we'll get some racing. So, looking forward to it. You looking forward to it? I'm guessing so.
Certainly after I've said in the past that, Formula 1 is only ever as good as its last race. So Formula 1 at the minute is not very good at all.
No, it isn't, no. I have to say thank you to some Patreons as well. Ellie Bede and Michael Wilding as well. Thank you very much for joining up on Patreon. That is at patreon.com/rogue2media. We did drop an episode of Deck Chairs and Dirty Air, Deck Chairs and Dirty Air this weekend. So,
and can I say it's very, very dirty air. It's very dirty.
Very saucy. Very saucy. And so go over there, download it. You do also, every now and again, you get an early Deck Chairs Derelict episode as well, and early Shonky Lab episodes as well. They also appear on the feed. So please go over there, download to your heart's content. Thank you to everyone who does join up for that. It does keep us in cables and keeps the lights on for us. So we really do appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you very much. Andy, you have shows on the internet as well, which people might be interested in. Where can they find that and what are you doing?
All of the shows and everything I do is over at roguetwomedia.com, your one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. And I do a show called The Great Derelict, which is about science fiction, mostly science fiction, kind of science fiction adjacent at least, because the episode I released this week was all about Ghostbusters, which is kind of science fiction, proton packs, sci-fi-ish.
Oh,
so
it
I'm
definitely
counting
is.
it. Yeah. So, but you can find that there. And you occasionally get early Great Derelicts on the Patreon feed, as Elton alluded to. So you can hear next week's Derelict on there now, which was going to be this week's episode, but it would have put me over the Libsyn limit, so I released the shorter episode this week, and that'll go out next week.
Ah, okay. That's what you did, is it?
Yeah. Because I didn't want to pay the extra.
Fair enough. Okay, well, people can hear me talking to your wife over at Shonky Lab, can't they?
Oh, the scandal.
Yeah. We're talking Freud as well. So we're diving into the depths of the id, the ego, and the super ego as well. All of it was Greek to me up until 10 minutes before, where I did a little bit of research. So head over to Shonky Lab and give that a listen and download, if you please. I don't think there's anywhere. Well, go join the Facebook group. We have an email as well, which is boxboxbox@grandprixpodcast.com. We're all on the social medias as well, so please head over and find us on Twitter and Facebook and all the other places that you can find us. I think that is it. Yeah, thank you very much to everyone listening, and hopefully we'll have a better race next time out. So until then, bye-bye.
Ta-ra.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that, especially if the converter's got a problem, because 2.8 has become 1.